This right here is my computer monitor, a 42-inch LG C2 OLED TV. As far as splurgy purchases go, it's one of the best investments I've made into my workspace. However, it's also far from perfect. In this video, I'm going to discuss why I went this route, the pros and cons of using a TV with your computer, and whether or not you should join the big monitor master race. Let's talk about it. These days, computer monitors come in all shapes and sizes and with different features to accommodate a variety of workflows. But a corner of the market that's often overlooked are TVs. In more ways than one, the lines are blurring between TVs and dedicated monitors, which got me especially hyped for this, the 42-inch LG C2 OLED. If you've been following my content lately, this TV might look a bit familiar, and that's because it's the centerpiece of my setup here in the Overclock Media office, which I featured in a video a few weeks ago. Now, LG isn't sponsoring this piece you're watching right now, but I've been daily driving the C2 for the better part of 3 months now as my primary monitor. And on top of that, I own a 48-inch LG C10 back at home, which I've been using for the past 2 years as a Windows and PS5 display on my desk. All that being said, I have plenty of experience with this use case, though for this video, I want to focus on the C2. Not only is it the newer TV, but I think the 42-inch is more appropriate as a computer monitor. I can't talk about OLEDs and PCs without addressing two specific elephants in the room, because some of you expressed these concerns in my last video. First, let's talk burn-in. This is the #1 concern I think most people have with going this route, and the short answer I have is that it hasn't been an issue for me with any of my displays, and I don't baby them either. At worst, I routinely leave multiple windows in place for hours at a time. I did this a lot, especially when I was Twitch streaming a year or so ago, and even now as I work in Google Docs and have Spotify or auxiliary research on the side. However, this doesn't mean I don't take precautions. Having a screensaver turn on for periods of inactivity, running dark mode wherever possible, though realistically that should be all the time, and lowering screen brightness can certainly be helpful. Additionally, preservation features built into the TV, like screen nudging, goes a long way to extending the life of the panel. It's all worked well for me thus far, and there are plenty of examples of people on Reddit using their LG OLEDs with thousands of hours clocked that have no issues at all. Your mileage might vary, but I can say with pretty good confidence that burn-in, while it is something to think about, isn't the deal breaker that some assume it is. The second comment I see people make is about size, which honestly kind of perplexes me a bit. Trust me, I get that TVs, especially OLEDs, are larger than most singular computer monitors, and you have to consider this when you're fitting it into your setup. But I don't think a 42-inch 16:9 monitor is as crazy as people think it is. For one, I think the 42-inch C2, much like my boss, Austin Evans, has a small footprint with its skinny legs and thin profile.
He's not even here to defend himself.
That's his loss.
He's having a kid.
Well, maybe he should stop. It's almost like LG knew people were gonna use this on their desks because you can stuff things under the TV, including cables, docks. I even had a full Mac Mini under there as well. However, as far as the actual display size goes, if you can accommodate dual monitors on your desk, you can fit this TV. In fact, the 42-inch C2 is effectively the same size as having 4 21-inch 1080p monitors in a quadrant, with roughly the same pixel density as a 27-inch 1440p monitor. Of course, you'll need a decently sized desk, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. And now, with these two glaring concerns addressed, let's start with the good. This 42-inch LG C2 cost me $850 during a random sale earlier in the year. Not only is this cheap for a new OLED TV, but it also punches well above traditional 4K monitors in this price category on the gaming and creator fronts. Even better is that the price that I bought it for isn't all that uncommon. I've seen it go on sale every month or two, so with a little bit of patience, you can probably nab this for yourself. Going by aesthetics, the 42-inch C2 looks striking with its thin bezels. There is some heft in the back housing its components, so if you're looking to flush mount this on a wall, it might stick out a bit, but otherwise, it gets impressively thin. Crucially, the reason why anyone should look into using an OLED TV as a computer monitor is the picture quality. We've talked about them a lot on this channel, but there's nothing that can touch the sheer contrast of an OLED. Inky blacks and per pixel dimming result in precise detail that especially shows when consuming content and even while reading text. This pinpoint accuracy also translates into faithful color reproduction. You'll have to get your hands dirty diving into menus to adjust the picture profile and color temperature. And if you're feeling a little lost, there are plenty of resources on the internet, especially Reddit, to get you up and running pretty quick. This is what I did, and it matches within spitting distance of my 14-inch MacBook Pro display. However, as with any monitor, if you are serious about accurate color, third-party calibration tools are especially recommended if you are making content to spec. Beyond picture quality, the motion on this TV is nice as well. 1 millisecond response time means virtually no input delay. And if your device supports 120Hz output over HDMI 2.1, gaming and even mousing around the web feels silky smooth. My mouth is dry. I have some whoosh. Is this toxic? It's a shame that my M1 Max MacBook Pro only outputs 60 Hz to the display, which is fine. But when I demoed the M2 Mac Mini a few weeks ago, the experience was butter. Then there's the sheer amount of screen real estate this 42-inch TV affords you. At the most aggressive high DPI scaling macOS allows for 4K, there is plenty of room for activities. I use an app called Magnet to arrange my programs for peak multitasking, which is pretty similar to the resizer built right into Windows. It's genuinely useful being able to have full web pages next to documents I'm typing up, or having Finder alongside Final Cut to drag and drop files while editing. Realistically, what this 42-inch screen gets you are the benefits of multi-monitors, just cleaner and without the bezels. And of course, at the end of the day, it's also a premium smart TV. This means you can hook up game consoles, media boxes, or use the built-in apps to zone out of computer use whenever you want with a simple press on your remote. No janky OSD or fingering the back of your monitor to change inputs. It's a quality of life improvement I never knew I wanted at my desk until I had it.
Talk about the bad.
I can praise the LG C2 all day. But for as much as I love this monitor to death, the experience isn't without quirks. First of all, it's a pretty glossy display, meaning if there's sunlight or a lighting fixture in the room, you'll probably catch it in the reflection. And more annoyingly, the screen is a dust magnet, so you'll want to have screen cleaner handy to maintain a spotless finish. Like whoosh, don't drink it.
Unless you want to.
Unless you want to, and at that point, maybe you do like that TV to death. Beyond that, the speakers on this TV are serviceable at best, but there is room for improvement, especially in the bass department. I know enough to not expect much out of built-in TV speakers, but surprisingly enough, my 48-inch LG CX back at home sounds miles better, to the point where I didn't even need to hook up a soundbar. However, my more pressing issues with the C2 as a computer monitor have a lot to do with the fact that it wasn't designed to be one. For example, the TV doesn't automatically power on or go on standby like a monitor would, so you'll have to hold its hand a bit. Additionally, I mentioned earlier that LG OLEDs do a lot to preserve the life of the panel. It'll shift the image a few pixels here and there to prevent burn-in, which isn't too bad. But what's more irritating than that is when the C2 auto-dims when a certain threshold of motion isn't met. Gaming and watching content is usually enough to maintain screen brightness. But scroll through web pages and type up some documents, and you'll find that the display dims down more often than not. And that's regardless of you ticking every box to disable it. Some of the picture profiles do less of the auto-dimming than others, but I love using the game mode because of its low input latency, but unfortunately, that's where you see the dimming the most. Now, I mentioned this in my workspace setup video, but to update you regarding this situation, I actually ended up purchasing an LG service remote to fix the issue. Basically, this allows the end user access to maintenance menus, which includes toggles that more or less minimizes the auto dimming. Fair warning, this certainly runs the risk of shortening the life of your OLED, so I only recommend doing it if you have to. But personally for me, I think it's a worthy trade-off considering how often I was experiencing the issue. And also not to mention the fact that this remote only cost me $9 on Amazon.
It was actually 7.
Since I mainly run this TV during office hours and have my screensaver appear after 5 minutes of inactivity, I'd like to think everything will be okay. But of course, only time will tell. Let me know in the comments whether or not you'd rock a TV for your desk setup. And otherwise, thanks for watching this episode on Denki channel, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.